Dear viewers, we are back for our channel Gurukul of Civil Engineers. My name is Neha. We are here with our guest, Ms. Sarika Bhatt. She is a trained architect, a town planner, and an urban transport planner. Hi, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, Neha. How are you all doing?
I'm fine. So, how is this lockdown treating?
Yeah, positive and negative both. Negative side is that I'm not able to go for cycling in such a wonderful air
Right.
quality in India.
Yeah.
Lately, but of course, doing some good work at home and spending good family time with family after long.
Right. So, you are a busy person, and this lockdown has given you opportunity to have family time.
Yes. And exploring new things through new ideas to how to address the issue, how to work towards more sustainably through various platforms. And writing a lot during this lockdown,
I understand.
writing a lot of blogs, doing a lot of webinars like the one I'm
Yeah.
doing with you now.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty good that you don't need to travel a lot, and I think that's a really sustainable way to do things.
Exactly. So, ma'am, tell me about yourself a little bit. What's your profile? How was your background?
So I'm from a very small town in Orissa, and so I did my schooling and my architecture from Orissa, and then I shifted to Delhi to do my masters in urban planning from School of Planning and Architecture. And it's been more than 20 years. I shifted from Odisha and I never looked back actually. So, and since the beginning, after my pass out, I'm working in social sector. So that's very closely working with government and civic society group.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to tell our viewers about your profile. Is like you are currently working as associate director with Nagaro, uh, and you are a biker. You are a road safety activist, and you are a co-founder of Rahagiri Day. So, big achievements, big profile. How do you do all these things so perfectly?
I don't know. I do it perfectly. I don't think I'm doing it perfectly or not, but so it's a really ongoing process and a lot of team effort. Actually, it's not just my achievement. A lot of people working together to bring this positivity in the society. So, of course, cycling. That is what I was doing in my whole childhood, going to schools every day by cycle. But when I shifted to Delhi, it was just not possible to cycle in this city. It's very, very dangerous. And Delhi still have, some kind of public transport and informal transport that you can commute without a car. And frankly speaking, a few years back, I was not knowing driving. And 2 years back when we shifted to Gurgaon, it was just an amusement park for me. No public transport, and you just cannot walk, you just cannot cycle, nothing. But where I'm staying, if I have to go to a nearby grocery store to buy a bread, also I have to walk for 2 kilometers.
Oh.
So then I thought of buying a cycle and started cycling after 20 years of break. Started cycling again, and then I realized that how unsafe cycling in the city is. And since then I started working towards safety of pedestrians and cyclists. And that's how we started Ragiri Day in Gurgaon, to reclaim the streets for pedestrian and cyclists, and talking to the administration, advocating for safety of pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah. So I must say it will convincing the government, the official would not be the easy task to break the traffic for some time for this day.
No, not at all. Actually, it was really, really challenging. Convincing the administration and convincing the citizens also, actually.
Yeah.
So, the area we chosen is a really posh area of Gurgaon. It's kind of CBD of Gurgaon, you know, lot
Yeah.
of residential, lot of commercial hub and all these things. And we chosen this 5 kilometer of the main street of Gurgaon. And we thought of closing it so there will be no vehicle in the street. So
Right.
it was quite surprising for the administration, and they said, "Why you want to do it?" And you know, we said that, "Oh, this is the statistic. So around 50% people walk and cycle in this city, and so many transport. Only 10% people uses cars, and see the quality of air we have. So much of pollution because of this, and somehow we have to." You know, make inclusive streets where every road users can walk,
Right.
cycle, or use the road safely. And when went to the administration, they were quite surprised with this percentage. They thought 90% of the people in the city travel by their cars, and which is actually not true. And then we showed them some videos of Ciclovia in Bogota and all that, and they quite liked the concept, but they were really skeptical about blocking the traffic. And there were a lot of complaints from the citizens who really, they're totally used of you know, having a habit or bad habit of only traveling by car. We try to convince them. We say that let's do it for one Sunday. If it fails, then we will not do it. Then they were like, who walk, who cycle? Nobody will come. It's a Sunday morning. Everybody party in the city in Saturday night. Nobody will wake up in so early morning and will come to your event. And that lot of discussion happened. And after that, they agreed. And we said that let's do it, at least try for one Sunday. And first Sunday, winter, November 2013,
Yeah.
10,000 people in the street.
People were
So
looking
it
out for such
was,
a day.
yes. And the first Sunday, you know, even we don't know how to market about them, how to
Yeah.
convince people what kind of event it is. If we have a videos of others countries also, they were like, oh, that is a different country, India is different. हाँ हमारे देश में नहीं हो सकता ऐसे these that, you know, always that is an excuse
Yes.
about everything.
Yeah.
So then the first Sunday actually was very successful. More than 10,000 people came on the street. Everybody was happy. We didn't see a single sad face in the street. Like kids were skating, playing, people doing Zumba aerobics, doing yogas on the street, and multiple things were happening. There was live band performance in the early morning in the 7 o'clock, you know. And then this was like quite mesmerizing to see. And it actually, the first event gave us that positivity to continue this program till date. It's been 7 years and we're still doing it.
Right.
Sorry, because of lockdown we're not doing it, but
You are
till
missing
then,
it.
yes. And then it started in Gurgaon in 2013, and then it went to Delhi in 2014. And after Delhi, in the Kannad place, the CBD of India, I must say, and the capital of India, we closed the street, and in that, it's in May 2014, we started a Rahagiri Day in Kannad place. And after that, it has, started, and it has reached out to almost 76 cities and 18 states in India.
It's almost pan India.
Almost pan India, yes.
Yeah. It must be a sense of achievement to see your vision all across India.
Yes, it is. So achievement is, you know, the vision we thought of, you know, why we want to do it. Somehow it has been addressed little bit. Of course, you know, when we see that the concept has been adopted by many government organization, the smart city programs and all that, to address the sustainable mobility issue, there we feel some kind of achievement. And of course, when we see that, you know, the all walks of the society coming together in the street,
Yeah.
that's the sense of achievement that we feel like, and that's the best achievement that we feel so far.
Right. So how did this program, this platform comes in your vision? Did you have initially thought about this? Did you have planned this when you started your transport planning course with SPA, or you
So
just wanted to
actually,
do the job and
uh,
related
yeah.
things?
So actually, I didn't do my transport planning. So did my masters in environmental
Okay.
planning,
Yeah.
and then I did my masters in sociology also.
Right.
So when I realized that architecture. So I'm never into building design. I never. My all architecture skill into is basically into master planning, city planning, and all that. uh, Whatever little bit of architecture I did it with very personal, designing my home house or my parents house or whatever, doing little bit of the personal stuff that I did for my family and friends. After that, when I did my masters in SP, I realized that what all we are missing in our cities and in our and the connecting between the cities, small towns and the villages, there is huge gap in that. And I realized that planning is a social issue. It's not a design issue. It's a very social issue, because when you are planning for the society, for all walks of life. It is not just for reach of the city or the society. It is for everyone when you plan a city. Then I did my masters in sociology and started working in social sector after that. How so social impact or in planning, basically,
Yeah.
social and environmental impact in planning. I started working in that particular line since then. So never worked in a corporate world till I joined Nagaro, and always worked in basically the social sector, basically, where you need a lot of other intervention as a planner, and
Yeah.
not a typical doing master planning or town planning kind of stuff, but a different perspective of a planner, where you are thinking of basic services for the poor, inclusive streets, or about pollution and all that. It is like where which actually impacts everyone in the society.
So this social activity, it never taught in any of the colleges. It's your internal based, your upbringing and all give you the vision about the social thing. These things can never be taught. So how is these are the things your parents have inculcated in you as a personality?
Yes, I must say it is all my upbringing, mostly my upbringing. And then when I shifted to Gurgaon, I met a couple of like-minded people who are doing a lot of social work actually. So my father, from the childhood, we have seen is a social worker, working for various sectors, just not helping someone for something like that, but like for many things, like developing a model village. So we are like we still have our ancestor village, and my parents still go there, and my parents were always into developing that village. And since then I have seen how it's developing a small pond, helping the agriculture or helping the fishery in the village, developing a road, how it is helping on commerce. All these things I can see that, and it was all how that helped me on working towards working in the social sector since then. Of course, it's a upbringing. Definitely, I've seen it from my childhood, and then whatever I practiced little bit or studied little bit about this, the need of the hour, why we all need to think on this particular line. And since then to practicing, looking into what others are doing, learning from them, it helped me a lot. I'm still learning a lot from others, and that learning is helping me a lot to give my output, and do the best for the society, that my area of work, how I can influence my area of work to make this city or make a society a better place to live.
So For these upcoming new talents who are just beginning their career, and when they go to college, they just thought about everything to be corporate, everything money minded. Nothing comes to their mind about these social issues and anything. So how do you usually go to the colleges also for your chats and discussions? So do you have faced such kind of issues in the college that people are not very aware of about all these, or?
uh, it was like, I will say, there are two kind of generation. If I see 10 years back, or like 10 to 7 years back, of course they were not aware. But now what I see, the new generation who just entering to the college or just pass out, there is a lot of awareness about the social issues and environmental issue in India, especially because now a lot of institution also focusing on this. Definitely during our time there was zero, nothing has been taught regarding all this, that how we have just it was totally bookish and learning whole thing. There was no practical knowledge for us and all that. We faced a lot of challenge after passing out. But these days I think there is a lot of opportunities, lot of seminars happening, lot of webinars happening, lot of workshops happening where students are participating. Students are organizing a lot of workshop around this now, so there is a lot of awareness because of social media and activisms and all that. So right now what I see, like the program that I'm leading right now is the Haryana Vision Zero to reduce, that is the road safety project, and all our youth who are working in this program. And actually, frankly speaking, they are like pass out 4 5 years back from civil engineering background. All are civil engineers, and no one was having an idea of doing such work for the society. And that's how you talk, mentor them, and
To develop their skills.
yeah, a lot of awareness, telling them about why it is need of an hour, giving the personal stories to them, sharing personal stories to them, asking them to share their own stories about all these things. It's really help to change the mindset. When you give the personal story, when you share the personal stories, ask them to share their personal stories, then they realize that why it is important to do such kind of social work. And of course, it's a new thing for all the civil engineers. They don't actually learn all this from their colleges, for definitely. So that's what actually it's there in my mind, to develop such kind of institution where the civil engineers complete their bachelor's and come and do a 6 month course or a 1 year course on particularly on these things. Otherwise, and we really need more and more such civil engineers. Definitely we need.
Right. So now that you are working in a corporate sector, how is it different from the sector you have worked with, social sector?
Actually, my organization Nagarro is not corporate, and so my CEO, Mr. Manas Fuloria, he is also kind of an environment and road safety activist, and doing a lot of social work. So as a work culture, it is not very different for me, not at all, because I'm doing the similar projects that I was doing earlier, and when I was working with WRI. All the projects that I'm doing is what I was doing earlier, but so little bit of the corporate culture is a formal setup of doing this, doing that. Okay, that was a change for me, but gradually I learned it, and then I realized that it's good for your own management, I think.
Yeah.
In working in NGO, you take everything for granted. Okay, let it be.
Here it is more of planning.
More into your activism kind of thing and all that. But corporate is a little bit of balance, and you train yourself to manage yourself well. I really mismanage myself. So doing multiple things in one time, and okay, let's do this also, that this is it's too much. And then after joining this corporate, I think I able to manage myself pretty well.
Right. You have to organize yourself, plan many things, and then you have to execute.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So, what is this in India Vision Zero? Sorry, Haryana Vision Zero.
So Vision Zero is a concept to reduce road traffic fatalities. So it started in Sweden around 30 years back actually so why it is Vision Zero basically, so not a single person should get killed or die due to road traffic crashes, not even one life. So we should lose. That's why it's called zero. Because we ask people, so what is the percentage that you are thinking to reduce road traffic crashes, everybody say 20%, 25%, 30%. For example, 500 people getting killed in Gurgaon, and I will say, oh, I want to reduce 25%. So what about that 75%? Do we think they are like, do we think that they should get killed, they should die? No. So because it's an unnatural death and it is preventable, that's why we say it is zero. So that's why it's called Vision Zero, towards zero traffic death.
Right. Every life is
So,
important in this
yeah,
city.
even a single life is important, right? So and why? Because it is preventable. And mm, So lot of learning from Vision Zero globally, what other countries are doing, like Sweden is doing, New York is doing, Seattle, and many other cities in US is doing, in UK, in Latin American, many countries, developed and developing countries, cities are adopted Vision Zero principle, where the principle is very different to address road traffic, road safety. Because traditionally what road safety means is awareness program, educating people towards traffic rules. That is how we were thinking of addressing the road safety issues, but it is beyond educating people actually.
Yeah.
So it is basically educating people not just towards following traffic rules. It is towards educating people towards why safety is first, not the traffic, but safety is first. Then second thing is basically why road safety is everyone's responsibility, the road users and the road developers, it's
Yeah.
everyone's responsibility. Why road designing is the key to address road safety, where it comes the civil engineering part, right? So it's like, so much of my career is like, the professional career that has started from architecture to then town planning to doing developing master plans reports and CMPs and all that, and totally engage deep in road safety, which is a pure civil engineering issue. Okay. But uh, then the fourth is why what we said is the coordinated approach.
Yeah.
Because in other road safety it's like, it's either police who is basically responsible for road safety issues, or in some other few government departments. But we realize that it is not just police and not only one two departments. Around 22 departments are responsible for addressing road safety issues.
A
So
huge number.
yeah, it's a huge number, so everyone needs to work for, together. So that is the nowadays, like still the Vision Haryana Vision Zero. So not all the departments were working together, and after the Vision Zero, every month all the department heads come together and look into the reports and these and that, and finalize which work is whom to do. For example, small example I am giving, there were few crashes happened and people died because of over vegetation in the highways.
Hmm.
That, they got that created a blind spot. There was a huge tree and the branches were coming on the road, and in the night there was lack of visibility and they crashed into the trees and they died. So simple thing, then the forest department has to trim the trees. Simple thing. Then irrigation department, nobody can realize that irrigation department is also one of the key department to address road safety, because we have a lot of canals in the village roads, urban to rural and towns to cities, and all this kind of linkages we have, and we have a lot of canals. And in that, if you don't have culvert, we have seen lot of fatalities due to not having good quality of culverts. So all this kind, we realized that how many departments are responsible for this. So that's why in this whole Vision Zero principle, we started Haryana Vision Zero in 2017. It's almost 3 years actually, and we were able to save some 500 lives in these 3 years and some 1,000 major injuries actually in these 3 years through better engineering. So
That's
for civil
quite a
engineers,
number.
it's very, very important to
Right.
do better right engineering, not even better, right engineering.
Right. Yeah.
Because of the right engineering of the street, of the road, we were able to save so many people.
So in 3 years, what did you realize? Is the city ready for this? I mean, are they giving their 100% to solve these problems which you are working on?
No, long way to go.
Yeah.
I think just beginning, I'm telling you, it's just a beginning actually. It's long way to go. I recently wrote an article about, how I related the Vision Zero principle to COVID actually.
Yeah.
So now, especially in India, of course, other countries are also doing the same thing. But especially in India, I have given example how this whole four principle that I've explained earlier has adapted to address COVID in India. So safety first. So they locked down the country, right? Because of to control, control the movement. And he said, "There's a safety is important. Let's lock down." Then they said, okay, better infrastructure. So during this lockdown period, they started developing so many of hospitals and developed so many better infrastructure to address it. If later the cases will be increased, they are ready with the medical equipment and multiple things. So they did the better infrastructure. They address the infrastructure part. Third is that, as I said, that is everyone's responsibility, because citizens group and government really working together to address this. Really strong, there is a strong bonding between the administration and civic society group to address this. And then, as I said, everyone's responsibility. It's like coordinated approach. So every department is coordinately working towards, the health department, the district administration, the police, the municipal corporation. Everybody has a role to play. So every department coordinatedly working to address this. So that's what I'm saying. If you can do this to address COVID situation, then why not road safety?
Right.
Because we have just lose some few hundreds people in
Exactly.
so many months. Every day we lose 400 people due to road traffic crisis in India. 400 people, and sorry, and more than 1,000 people get disabled every day. We lose around 43 children every day due to road traffic crisis. It is an epidemic. COVID is a pandemic, and even road safety, road traffic crisis in epidemic. So I think the Vision Zero principle fits totally to address this, and long way to go. We really need to be serious about this.
Yes. So this is one city you are targeting, when one state, Haryana. So when we're going to see all these things all over India? Soon?
So finger cross. I think someday the national government will adopt it, and we will see that we will see the India Vision Zero program soon. It's again it's huge challenge, to sustain this kind of program, because we are doing through CSR money. We are always dependent on CSR money to run such kind of program, and we might don't know that we will able to continue this program after, because of the COVID situation, because a lot of the CSR money now going to COVID. So it's a huge challenge about making this kind of program sustainable without government's involvement. So we hope, there is a lot of hope that government will adopt this, and I think now we have realized the value of human in our country also, because of the COVID. If every death is getting counted, although we count our road traffic crisis death also, but every day there is an update about how many people get impacted, how many people die due to COVID. We don't get such kind of update for road safety, road traffic crisis.
True.
So nobody actually cares if it is not happened to their own family.
Right.
Everybody thinks that they are not going to face some kind of this kind of incident in their life.
This will not happen to me. This is the
Yeah,
approach.
Yes, this is the approach that they say that, oh, this is not going to happen to me. Definitely not. And we just do rash driving, we just not follow traffic rules. Even in the government organization, they don't bother to make safe infrastructure. So somehow, I think it's really a hard time, and to realize that, how important this is also.
Right. So, do you ever gone through any kind of any colleges and explain these things so that the people, the civil engineers, the transport planner, people who are getting their degrees right now should understand their responsibility and they can design the road, plan the town, plan the sites in such a manner that the safety is the key thing for them, not on the roads but also on everywhere.
Yes. So yes, I've been to a couple of engineering colleges here in Haryana, and few others in Delhi and other UP, Noida, and all that, and discuss about Vision Zero, what is Vision Zero, why, how to address road safety issues, and all that. And through that only we get the students to work with us and all that. So of course, we are trying to do this kind of capacity building programs, not only with the students, actually with the engineers of the government departments also.
Yeah.
We are doing a lot of training programs with them on designing and of road and other, like, designing of proper inclusive street, not looking into road as a for the vehicles, or basically designing the street for people.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of capacity building of police departments on better enforcement and better crash investigation and all that. So there is a lot of capacity building program happening through our Vision Zero program, uh, uh, with students, with practitioners, and many other people.
Right. Now that you are in corporate, you must be recruiting students also from the universities and institutions. So, do
We
you feel
recruit.
any? Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, please.
So, do you feel any gap in the expectations of industry and student capabilities? What is expected in the industry? Do you feel they are not educated in that level?
No, not at all. They don't learn road safety. Definitely, they don't learn road safety. They learn some highway engineering during their civil engineering. Even they have done masters also in civil engineering. They have just learned some kind of highway engineering, and they do some kind of road safety audit in that. Except that they don't know anything else on road safety. So road safety audit of highway doing is very, 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 like, it's very vague. Not very clear statistics they have on the strategy they have on the guidelines they have to do that. Right now they do some kind of internship for 15 days or something, but definitely through our program, and when they join this program, we give them proper training, actually. So first 1 month they come and they train with us on various aspects that the module that we working on. So we working on 5-6 modules, and we train them on those modules, and then every 3 months we keep on training them. So whosoever is working with us and going out, uh, of course, I can guarantee you that they know road safety now. So I think what we are doing in the Vision Zero program, at least one semester in bachelor degree and 1 year in the master degree, they should teach the students this.
So, the
Otherwise,
change in
yeah,
curriculum is also required in colleges.
yeah. See, for example, curriculum they require AutoCAD also. Hardly these people know AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Similar thing, they have some subject of road safety, but I'm saying that do road safety audits in that.
Yeah.
Basically, and nothing else. They even don't know about, and that is all vehicle oriented planning again. They don't know about that, how to design a cycle track or how to design a footpath.
Right.
They only do some kind of road safety audit. Okay, there should be a signage. That's beyond signages and marking. They don't learn anything else.
Huge gap.
Huge gap. They even can't design a proper rotary. They can't design a proper intersection. Nothing. Huge gap, actually.
You have been traveled a lot within India and of course abroad. So, do you find that we should learn such thing about the roads and all from Western world? Because I think they have their design tracks for everything, for walkers, for cyclists. Because
Yeah,
here,
that's what we adopted the Vision Zero principle from the the Western countries only.
yeah.
And definitely, my travel is all mostly work related travels, and I just go for this kind of case studies to look into the best practices what other countries are doing, and to practice and adopt that, learn from there, and improvise in our own planning and designing. So most of my trips are learning trips for my own, like the um, different kind of case studies that other
Yeah.
countries are doing, and learn from them, adopt that, and basically, uh, yeah, that is what we are doing right now.
Great. So, Sarika, what if you think back in your career, like 20 years, you have given your life into this activism, we call it as road safety. What is your turning point in your life?
So for road safety, actually, it's my personal thing. I lose very few close people in my life due to road traffic crashes, and since then I thought that this is where I want to work. That was my turning point to work towards road safety issues. uh, Seeing few of the victims family, talking to them, has actually triggered me more towards working on road safety areas. Mm, and my turning point, I must say, actually, when I got married, and when we realized we share the same kind of visions and same kind of interest working towards this. And that's how, never look back, actually. That was my turning point, and just kept learning from each other and from friends.
So, and if you talk about your achievements, your struggles, your hardship, as far as entire life and entire career, what do you think? What is the most important achievement for you?
Most important achievement. So most important achievement right now, I'm talking so freely with you. So I was from a very small town of Orissa. I was having a very typical accent on talking in English that time, and of course not so good also. And I'm from a government school. Okay, so I'm from one of the backward district of Orissa. Uh, from there, the challenges that I face is a lot of racism I faced in my life, actually. And that taught me a lot. That actually made me a fighter, actually. So I just don't stop now. I just fight for everything. And so since that, after that, I moved out to a very big city, the capital of Odisha, Bhubaneswar. There also I faced a lot of racism, and then after shifting to Delhi is like was a cultural shock for me. So it was really cultural shock, like how much of many things which I was not expecting came in front of me. But it was a great learning. So what I say that, the challenges that I faced uh, basically helped me in improving myself. And so since then, I think I'm able to fight what I wanted to do, and fight for the right things. So so far, I think this is the achievement I can say, talking in front of hundreds of
Large
people.
crowds.
Yeah, large crowds. And when I was not able to present in front of 5 people, and now I'm talking in front of a global audience, not just in India, and going out and presenting my work in global platforms. So all this things, uh, that bad days, or I don't know, now I say the good days, not bad days. The
They have taught you. They have made you what you are now. I mean, you have overcome all your fears and everything.
Absolutely. So it helped me in overcome my fears actually, and still I fear a lot actually for many things. But that's how, you know, all that things again came into your mind, and then, oh, I can then get rid of that like this.
You have to train your mind accordingly. What do you need?
Yes.
Right. So, in your journey, you have given your lot of energy, lot of effort in your designing your career. Likewise, so how do you think that soft skills, your personality development, is important, uh, or your education is the only thing?
No, education is nothing actually. I must say, I'm not doing anything that I have actually learned in my educational career. I'm telling you, not even in my not even in a bachelor's or masters. We just started doing reading and practicing personal, like, you know, practical knowledge is very very different thing. And I think personal, like, you know, soft skills is the key to make yourself make basically to convince people about your work is not your best of best design or best of best making your presentation, but how you are presenting your presentation is important. That we really realize, especially me, I realize it when I started giving presentations in multiple platforms, and I realized where I'm really, my audience are getting bored on my presentation, and now where when I present, they really appreciate my presentation. So this is it's a huge learning on your soft skills, your presentation skills, where to pause, how to talk, your whole body language. It's very 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 important for any kind of professionalism actually.
Yeah.
I must say, for each and every professional, your convincing power, your communication skill is very very important.
Right. So you have worked with the social sector, you have worked with the corporate sectors and consulting also. Uh, what are the practices they follow? Uh, if somebody have gone to for a placement there, so what he or she should focus on? Uh, it's hard work is only the key, or there are other kind of practices also to get the attention of your seniors, your peers, to get good projects, good name and fame. What do you think?
So hard work is 50%, and rest of the 50% is how what kind of knowledge you have,
Yeah.
and that knowledge that you can actually get through reading more and more, uh, and learning more and more.
Yeah.
So for even in your professional career, when you are entering to job or you have gone for an interview, you should know about your subject very well,
Yeah.
not just what you are presenting or what is. You should know about your subject very well. What the current practices are going on globally, what are people are looking out of it, how update you are on the news, what exactly happening globally and all that things. So hard work is 50%, the rest is your knowledge sharing, and what kind of business you are getting,
Yeah.
basically, so the output and outcome you are getting, and your output and outcome only not come from your basically hard work, through your better communication and
Awareness.
awareness actually. So for example, I will say, I have done a lot of great drawings and all that, and I am looking the engineering department to implement.
Mm.
Why they will implement?
Yeah.
Basically then your comes under the personal relationship. So the basically whatever I have achieved so far, I must say, very little, long way to go, very very little actually. So it is all about the personal relationship that I built with my co-workers, with my colleagues, with my people who are involved in my projects. So they'll help you in outcomes. So I think personal building good personal relationships helps a lot.
So in your journey towards the place where you are in, do you feel any gender biasness in the industry?
Oh, huge. Very too much actually. I face it multiple times now also in this age. So forget about the youngsters and all that. Of course there is a huge gender biasness in all sector, I must say, and globally it's a huge issue, because I also work on gender issues in planning. So I know the fact that how it is not about the for women that I am working. I myself face it most of the time. So yes, it is still there and it's huge. But how to overcome is basically be confident on yourself, and prove, like again, prove yourself through your knowledge. So then of course you face it, but you come out with it very easily. uh, that needs a lot of, like, I don't think in our lifetime we are going to see that change
We
in
will.
our
We will
society.
definitely. I mean, there are examples like you. There are personalities like you and many others. We will. We have to learn that women are there and they will take over our world sometime.
That's what I'm saying. I still, like, women like me also face this kind of challenges, and we try to overcome. Sometimes we don't, and it happens. So then you think, oh, when, right? And being a mother of a daughter, I always pray that their generation will be much, much, much more better than us.
We wish.
Mm.
So at the end, ma'am, how do you spend your time other than work? How do you maintain your work-life balance? You follow hobbies. You are a biker. You always go for that.
Yes. So I already said that I'm a disorganized person totally. So I don't balance my life at all. So I go with the flow, and whatever time I get, I try to pick and choose my stuff and do. Of course, I love cycling, and that make me part of my daily exercise also, or workout also, that everybody go and do in their gym. I do it outdoor, and which actually helps me in my own professionalism, like on my helping in my own professional stuff, and doing my own workout and making myself bit healthy, like oh contributing something to the society kind. Other than that, I really love cooking, so I do a lot of cooking at home, and all of us are very foodie. So I enjoy that. That's kind of meditation for me. I love painting sometimes. Like right now during lockdown, I'm doing a lot of painting, which I generally don't get time to
Yeah.
do. Spending and I love agriculture, so I love farming. I love plants. I love trees. So I have developed a small kitchen garden next to my house, and I
Great.
love working there. So these are the few things, and of course, I love spending time with my dear friends. So uh, that's also there. So the time. So there is no enough time for anyone. If you think, then there is no enough time, and if you do it, then there is time for everything. Actually, that's what I believe. So sorry about this.
That's
And I think that you no need to basically plan your life. What you have to do is go flow with your
go with the
uh,
flow.
yeah, just go with the flow that coming in front of you. No need to, like, planning is okay, but I think practicing is more important than planning. So
Yeah.
practice whatever you love.
Right.
So
So,
then
what
uh,
advice do you want to give to the?
everything.
Yeah. So, what, according to you, what advice you want to give to the upcoming new students, people who are entering the world? corporate world?
I will say, do whatever you love, and just don't do the work which you don't enjoy. Otherwise, you will not able to give your 100%. Just choose the profession that you love to do. And one thing, I will say, the most important thing to achieve something that you have vision is truthful to yourself. If you're not truthful to yourself, then you cannot do good for others. So I think there you get rid of many things. That if you're truthful to yourself, it gives you strength, it gives you mindfulness, and it makes you happy to do good things. So then you can actually achieve good stuff.
Um, Thank you, Sarika. Thank you for talking to us and giving us your vision, your inspiration to us. It was nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine. Thanks for making me part of your journey. And hopefully, I will be my discussion will be helpful for the students and the viewers of your
Channel. Yeah, it is. It is definitely.
Beautiful of civil engineers, and we can see more and more good civil engineers in the future.
Definitely.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. And to our viewers, we have just interviewed a very incredible personality. You can learn a lot from her journey, and she is always here to mentor you if you want any help. This is Neha signing off from our channel, Gurukul of Civil Engineers. You can go through our website, www.gcelabs.com. We'll be back with another interview with more important personalities. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All the best.